just, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it's kind
Dude,
of.
I was talking to Jess about it the other day, and I'm like, God, look at my phone. It looks like I have this giant porn app on my phone. Big giant X.
All right.
It's Twitter.
We're going. We are live and in living color. We're just talking about Twitter or X. I guess we can't say tweets anymore. It's your Xing, maybe. I don't know. Why is this saying live YouTube? What's going on here? I have no idea. Sorry, something's fishy on the YouTube. There we go. Now we're back. That's right. That's the right one. That's what I was looking for. That link. YouTube and Zoom's integration's been funny. Anyway, we were talking about X, and I saw somebody tweet, Nick, explaining, I got to explain this to my wife, why I've got this X.com on the credit card bill. And he's like, how am I going to tell her this is Twitter? And anyway, like, yeah, it kind of looks suspicious, right? Like, I get it, but no, we're living in the X
Age of X.
I don't know. Tweeting was, that was the way you described what you were doing, right? And like, I don't know, I'm Xing, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it was like twatting before, and now it's accepting. I don't even know.
All right, twatting and stock twats messages have been fired off. And we're live, we're rolling. Sorry, we're just a couple minutes late tonight. We had a meeting of the minds right before we went live, but yeah, we're here now. We came together like Voltron, and now we're off and running. Hey, there was just all kinds of fear and mongering coming into today. And what do you know? The Q's finished up almost 1%. GP, I posted the Netflix chart over the weekend. I shared that. And bull market leader, right?
And one of the few green weeks, right? Like
that doesn't look like it's the most bearish chart to me. It did close lower than its highs of last week, but last week it was still up, 1.37%. And then today, what does it do? 2%, 2.12% out of the gate. GP, I turn it over to you. What say you about the glorious Netflix bull market leader?
I think Nick might have realized it a little bit late, but it was a 3-week tight, right? Going into this is including earnings. You got a 3-week tight, but forget 3-week tight. It's been tight for a month and a half now on pretty strong earnings, right? Like, so, like, yes, maybe it's going to break down, but when you have one of your highest flyers of the last 15 years putting in a green week when everything else was rejecting, maybe your thesis is still wrong. Maybe it's been wrong. Maybe, right? Yep. So, been saying it for a while now. One candle does not ever make a direction. It's a candle, guys. Like, it's got it. There's a big wick on it. What happened? Where'd the wick close? Where'd the body close, right? So if you're looking at Qs, you could be like, oh, wow, that was a bullet bearish engulfing last week, right? Where's the volume, right? There's not a lot of volume on the week, but on the daily volume, it's some of the highest volume that usually happens towards bottoms, and you have it happening towards the top, right? I'm talking about sell volume. And so I think I highlighted that earlier last week or late last week to say, this is not behavior to me of a topping pattern, right? This is behavior to me of a bottoming pattern. So like, what do we like? So I also posted the chart, just a friendly reminder that I've been talking about this bottom since June of 2022, and got made fun of a lot, but ultimately the thought process is that you make a very sharp bottom first, you come back and retest it, which we got in October, and you're off for the races. While everyone in October was calling for what, guys? Further lows. Right? So when you're talking about further lows and you don't actually look at the chart pattern on a higher time frame, I'm not sure if I can really trust what you're trying to say. But sure, maybe I was wrong and maybe you were right, and none of that stuff matters. But it was the price action that mattered, and the price action in all of that. If you remember June, I think we've talked about this a lot of times on our podcast. That June 3-day period in the Qs was an 11.2% washout on actually not that bad CPI numbers. So it was that we got like volume capitulation, but that was that sentiment capitulation that you got too. So what you had to look for was confirmation, and then you got the double bottom confirmation, which is typically not a day later like everyone thinks, but months later, right? So the double bottom happens when everyone's kind of like, hey, things are much better, and then you kind of, it's the rug pull, so to speak, and that October rug pull caught underneath, and then we haven't looked back, right? And then on every single pull, we keep getting the oh my gosh, I don't even know how to describe whatever that subset is, but the reality is just people looking to score on cheap puts where they can make millions of dollars.
I mean, I'm scoring on cheap puts off the start of the day. That's how I've been playing it now for almost 3 weeks, and they've worked, but I'm not in long-term puts. And I reference this, right? Overstaying your welcome. I even tweeted that, or stock tweeted it today. You got to realize when you got to get in and get out. And it wasn't something that I wanted to stay. I'm not a zero bear by nature, right? So having some quick puts pay me, I'm in and out in 20 minutes of work, 45 minutes of work, right? And that's the way I'm playing my puts. But I think your point's well taken, GP. Hey, Nick, are you still as bullish as you have been given all the fuckery last week? Oh, my bad. All the expiry last week.
Yeah, I didn't get the Monday open that I wanted. I wanted a gap down. I did buy a little bit today. I was definitely a seller for the most part last week. The SPY is like on the SPY, for instance, I still think we're heading down to that 444 is kind of where I think the magnet's going to be. Talking to Cookie this morning, he was calling for the action today. Like, he's like, we're going to get close to that 444, but we're not going to touch it just to kind of fuck with people. And I was like, that wouldn't surprise me either. I just didn't particularly like the daily volume or the engulfing bars that we saw last week. The bar that we saw today, like in the SPY and the Qs, were both inside bars on less volume than last week. So again, I'm not a super big fan of either of that.
I think you're going to get a lot of that, Nick, because no one believes, right?
Sure.
No one thinks. Every time we get a 2% move down, people are like, oh my gosh, it's the start.
Yeah.
It's not a conversation of, hey, this is a healthy. There's some people who are saying we need a healthy correction. I just don't think we're there yet. That's my personal opinion. We got about 15 points on the SPY. That's about 3 to 4%, right?
It's not enough to really scare me out of my bigger positions that I'm in. Largely just being that I think the stronger names on individual basis, I think, look phenomenal.
Give me some names.
I love the way that Google's setting up. I love the way.
So talk to me, dead money GP. Talk to me.
Boeing, I thought, looked great. LRCX and Clack.
Imagine that, LRCX and Clack.
Basically any name that is broken out within the last, let's just say, couple weeks or so, and holding up in the top third of that breakout range. So Boeing, for instance, I think looks phenomenal. It broke out, your next triggers like that 243. There's a lot of setups out there, and I think it's just the garbage that's kind of getting punished. And like we're just
But that's what you want to see, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
People get, so you have the good rise, right? Which you saw, which was Apple and Amazon and Netflix and Tesla and NVDA, right? Start the year. That's your fundamental kind of, these are the ones, if you want to see the market rally, you want to see your leaders rally, and the leaders rallied. Then what do you see as leaders are rallying? People are like, crap, the market might have some legs here, so let me start to short cover. So what did you start to see? You start to see short covering. Carvana, like across the board, right? You just saw Redfin went from what, $3 earlier this year to $15, $16, 500-600%. There's 40-50% short interest on some of these stocks. They're pretty much priced for bankruptcy. I'm not saying they're not going to go bankrupt, but you saw these names.
So I need to get out of my Robinhood position.
Yeah, and so
I said, yeah.
But if you're in the, I've talked about this quite often. We have a big monetary shift. We went from free money for over a decade to risk-free money sitting in 5.5% treasuries or checking accounts and stuff. People are going to need a real reason to pull money out of checking accounts and put them into stocks that are volatile, right? So they're not going to sit there and throw their $7 trillion in savings into a losing, unprofitable company. They will put money into things like Apple, into things like Amazon, and things like Shop. And so Shop's an interesting one, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you're starting to see the monetary shift regime play out in stocks, right? So the profitable companies are getting rewarded and the unprofitable companies are getting short covered, but as soon as they're showing unprofitable, they're getting smacked again, right? And that's what you'd expect in this regime. So what will you need for that money that's sitting in money market funds or treasuries or savings accounts to pull out of their 5-6% comfortable, never going to lose my money interest back into equities? You're going to need 0% interest rates. Most likely you're not going to see that for a while. Economy's strong, right? So why would they cut rates here? It makes no sense. Economy starts to show worsening signs. Yeah, they'll cut rates as they need to, but that's not going to happen here. So you have this kind of stalemate. You can see it in these charts. A lot of things are sitting at pivots, can't break out, won't do any of this stuff, because it's starting to become a conversation about, do the fundamentals continue to make sense? When it was free money, fundamentals didn't have to make it as much sense. They just had to.
What I'm hearing is I need to sell all the shit companies in my portfolio and just go all in Amazon and Google.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Or maybe I'll throw some at Netflix too, GP.
I mean, we're in a period where I think, again, like the market is still sorting out the winners and the losers. Like, as long as you're paying attention to relative strength, I think you're going to continue to be in the right space.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening, right? But that's not you're not going to see 15, 20 years of money market managers all of a sudden tomorrow wake up and throw all their trillions of dollars of assets into 3 stocks. That's not going to happen. It takes time, right? So you'll see things start to show relative strength. You'll see things that are going to start to outperform. And I think that's something to pay attention to, right? Like, so I give the example of Roku. Roku's still unprofitable, right? If you pull up the Roku chart here.
Love to. Oh, that's not Roku.
Roku is an unprofitable chart. So you'll see that there's timid accumulation bars, but there's also sell bars. So every time there's a bit of news that says, holy crap, we're not going to be profitable, sellers come in. Every time we're going to be profitable. So this earnings, they showed a pretty good progress towards profitability. And I think that's important to know here. They're still not profitable. So when weakness comes in the market, they're going to tend to act weaker than the ones that are profitable. That's my personal opinion. You can take it for what it's worth, but I think it's important to recognize when there's fundamental shifts in monetary policy. And the charts used to draw back in the day don't necessarily always apply as much anymore.
What's your
I think
favorite?
SoFi went to profitability, correct?
They did.
And that's why they look how much they're outperforming their peers. I think Palantir went to profitability. Look how much they're outperforming their
They
peers.
did.
They're up after hours today.
Yep.
Did they have earnings today?
Yeah. And everyone is celebrating. It's like, this is why no one knows what Palantir does.
I know. It's so funny to me.
It's hilarious. And then like the whole move reversed after hours and then everyone goes quiet. But the reality is these companies are showing you, and you can see it on this. Look at this Palantir chart. Look at that volume that's there, right? Like on the weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So charts lead is still, so I think it's my slogan on stock twits, charts lead, hunches follow, right? So the chart's been showing you that they're going to be returning to profitability, or at least people
What
are betting on it.
opportunity it gave you to buy too.
Yeah.
In this uptrend. I mean, you've got, let me pull up the whole highlighter here. You've got all that area where it came into the 9, right, on the weekly. Pretty chart.
But look, so if we're staying on the theme of profitability versus unprofitable companies, Shop is one of the best examples, right? So if you pull up Shop and go to a daily basis here, you'll see Shop last quarter showed that management knew exactly what they're doing, which was unprofitable to profitable company. People are going to come in and start buying, right? That's what you saw there. And then the chart's been showing that it can't go anywhere for a while. And so what did they report? They reported a loss this quarter, right? It's almost like they knew. Shocker, right? And but if you start drilling down into their earnings, they did report a $1.7 billion loss, but $1.6 billion loss, but 1.7 of that was a one-time impairment. So otherwise they would have been quite profitable. So you can see that the sellers who just read the headline is a lot less, right? You see it in the volume here on the daily. Yes, not a great move, but it's not a crap ton of sellers compared to the ones who are buying on profitability.
It's range bound.
So
it's range bound.
Are you willing to buy Shop here?
I bought from lower, so it doesn't matter to me, right? So
No, just like
I did.
Sorry, let me reframe my question. If you were looking to get long Shop, are you a buyer here?
Yeah. So
buyer versus 50.
Buyer with a tight stop, and your tight stop is 53.88, right? That gap up. If it breaks that means they know that Shop may not be coming back to profitability next quarter as well. So you can see it here, right? That's a 3-day rule off of earnings. 3 days down, and on the 4th day, what does it do? It puts in a higher low and a doji, right? So let's see what tomorrow looks like on Shop.
All right, fair enough.
But it's I think a lot of times people feel like charts are voodoo, and I think charts are
chicken bones.
Yeah, they're a big part of a predictive pattern that you can see that shows up, and it has always represented human behavior, not patterns, not anything else, but human psychology. So the more you start to incorporate how people think into the way you look at charting, I think the better you'll be over time.
100%. I'd argue the better you understand yourself, the better you even understand the charts and how other people are feeling. Yeah, totally.
They're one and the same, right? The more you understand yourself, the more you understand people. So
yeah, absolutely. Then you just take a top-down approach, and it's like, what do I want to buy?
Yeah. It's, and then like, so like why this guys, I'm gonna take a few minutes here to talk about my last month or so, because I think it's pertinent to this stuff, is like so my mom passed over the weekend, and for the last month, I've been at the hospital at the CCU, kind of being her advocate and making sure she gets the right care. And part of that journey was knowing, and trading and all this stuff has helped me kind of parse through all my own garbage to be able to show up for her in a way that's powerful. And so I think it's really important to really understand who you are, not just in trading, but just in general. I think it gives you an insight into what people are thinking, and obviously into what you're thinking, but it helps you walk a few miles in other people's shoes, and it gives you a whole different perspective on life, right? So take the time, even if you're not into charting, take the time to understand who you're looking at in the mirror. Understand that whatever you want exists in you. The question is whether you can peel back enough layers to get to that person you want to be. And so I there's a lot of that stuff that's going on. I think it's important, but you can see it, human psychology exists not just in charts, but literally in all facets of the world.
Yeah, like it's not difficult, I guess, in my opinion, it's not difficult to pick stocks. It's not that difficult to find patterns and to look at charts to find the right investments. Or even to put together a winning strategy. You only need your strategy. You only need a 30% win rate to really be successful. And so like, it's really not that difficult. If your trading or investing is not going well, I would argue that money would be much better spent going and finding a therapist, a coach, or a mentor over, like, let's say, just paying a service to just throw out setups, right? Like, a lot of like subscription services are providing education in terms of like how to look at charts, where to kind of where the pivots are, where to enter, where to put stops. But the better that you understand yourself and understand those little things that come out that are a detriment to your success come out when like the stress is high. So, when I don't know, I was going on a I was agreeing with you kind of.
Well, I know you were, Nick.
I think you're making a salient point there, Nick, and GP. First off, we love you, and we're all our deepest condolences for your family. But Nick, I think you're hitting on a very strong point of when you're trading emotionally, your emotions can enhance those poor behaviors, right? I think kind of is what you're getting. And you can be on a great win streak of hitting trades, and something can happen, whether you're getting full of yourself trading so well, or something can happen to impact you negatively. And if you don't have your head on straight, right, then that's going to come through in your next trade. You're either going to be so cocksure that you can't miss a trade that you're just going to fire off one and miss, or you're going to be, your mind's on other things, right? And you're not able to concentrate on what you're doing, and you might fire off a trade into a bad trade. And in those cases, my personal opinion, if I'm not in the right headspace to make trades, I'm not going to trade, right? Like I've got other things going on deeper in my head, and losing a bunch of money is only going to compound that situation then, right? And that's how I personally go into the day. If I have heavy things going on, or there's something that's not right, or I'm feeling over confident in myself, it's usually time to take a pause.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Like, if you think you can do no wrong, you're gonna do a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, if you believe that fear and greed is what rules the markets and what pushes price up and down, I mean, just take any chart. Like take any pull-in and ask yourself how you'd be feeling if you were long, let's say Costco, for instance. Like you're long Costco and you're seeing a pull-in coming into the 20-day or the 50-day. And it's a violent bar. You're not special in that like your feelings are unique. Everyone is likely feeling a very similar way you are. So for you to be able to buy that fear requires you to really understand yourself. And by understanding yourself, you kind of understand what the collective is feeling at the same time.
Yep, I'll give you a really good example, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I told him I'm going to start buying Verizon on a every so often basis, right? As it like I'm going to build the position because I like the dividend at 7.5%, 8%. Not a great chart by any means, but it's sitting at like close to multi-decade kind of trend lines and solid business and stuff like that. And then it had that weekly bar where he bought it, I think at like 33, 34, and he texted me immediately. He's like, "Oh, whenever I buy, this is what happens." And I was like, at first I wanted to mute.
It's the meme. He sold, pamp it. He bought, damp it. Right? It's
So like, but this is general kind of psychology, right? And I'm like, I told you from the beginning that I'm not pulling in all my cash here. I'm going to build this position over time, right? So this is something that I want to be. This is not a stock that moves 30, 40% in a matter of minutes. You'll have your time. So when he's texting me, I'm literally, as he's texting me, I was buying another and he's like, yeah, another tranche. And he's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I was like, I don't know, but I just bought some more. And like, whatever that kind of confidence from me helped him stay in the position, right? But a lot of times, if you don't have that kind of confidant or self-awareness, you tend to do things that put you in positions. And like, it wasn't like, so in last month, I haven't been looking at charts in a way that I usually do, where I find my peace. I've been sitting in hospitals, and that fear and greed, that conversation of fear and greed, I saw every day, sitting in the ICU waiting room, in the CCU waiting room, watching people consistently just kind of bewildered and lost. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, I'm having conversations with doctors, and I had people come up to me while sitting in the waiting rooms, and they're like, "Hey, are you a doctor?" Like, I was like, "No, I look at pictures on a screen." But I know myself well enough to not get emotional in a situation like this, and bring whatever I got within me to the table and let that do its speaking, whether it's going to be great, whether it's going to be awesome, but just being confident in knowing that I can show up in a way that emotions don't matter. And what a wonderful place for you to get reminded that it's not, emotions are part of the journey, but it's not the journey, that you have to go through your own kind of, as you were saying, Nick, just you gotta be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an important part of the process, but
it comes back to knowing yourself, right? For me, it's recognizing I'm not in a good headspace right now, or I'm feeling too confident, right? That's my red flags for myself. But it's knowing yourself. When I first started trading, I'm invincible, right? Like I'm gonna go YOLO this entire account, and what happened? You blow it up, right? So you got to know yourself, and I think to Nick's point, like, you're better off finding a therapist or somebody to talk to help you know yourself than you are maybe just wasting your money in other fashion. Anyway, not medical advice, not emotional advice, and not financial advice.
It's just advice to get your shit under control and get control of your life. That's all
We
it is,
speak
right?
From experience only.
Yep.
Hey, let's get to some charts. We've had a whole bunch of people, and Tesla is obviously on everyone's mind.
So
And
I'd like
I
to
love
answer
it.
the
I said
question
last
about
week I love it. I love it even more this week. It was everything that I could do last week not to just go all in on this gap down, and I probably should have on Wednesday. Anyway, I think Tesla still looks great here. Tell me I'm right. I need some confirmation bias.
You are right.
you are not wrong. If you draw a channel, right, you have the top part of the channel of Tesla from the all-time highs and to all the little wicks, right? Just on an overall basis, yes, it didn't have a great start to the day on some really arbitrary news. Oh, the CFO. When has the CFO ever mattered in Tesla? All of a sudden, we're like, oh, let's sell this. Like, you can smell the bullshit from like a mile away, right? That's ultimately what it is. And yes, I know I got to put a lot of quarters in the swear jar, but I'm just not feeling very rowdy at the moment. But this chart still looks phenomenal to me. And it tends to punish bulls and bears in both ways, right? Always. I don't think there's been a moment where you don't get punished on. If you're too euphoric, you get slapped in the face. If you're too bearish, you get slapped in the face.
Just look at that perfect kiss off the 20 monthly, like perfect.
Yep. It's also the 13-week EMEA. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in this. Yes, not a great day, like I said, but there's not a lot of volume on this sell side too, right? Like, it's a little red, not really. It's holding the kind of island gap down from last year. It's holding that gap pretty well. It's kind of similar to the gap that it held the last week of April.
Yep. I was gonna say it looks very similar.
It looks very similar. And from there it went from 164 to 244 in 5 or 6 weeks. And if you're wondering what that percentage move that is a 56% move, I think. I believe it's 56% move.
From the bottom to the top.
No, the second bottom there. That one. That doji candle, that weekly.
Here?
To where it kind of slowed down, right? I think it was at 244 as a high there. It's been sideways. Yeah, just right around there. Doesn't matter.
I was like
70%, even more than 50.
Yeah, 70.
But that's my point here, right? So like, you could be looking at 70% from here, and what's 70% of 245? Let's say the lows. It's a decent chunk. So the second wave is always more powerful. It's always got more oomph behind it. The first one is like the shorts covering, the second one is the longs building, and the third one is to blow out all the shorts, right? So it's usually more powerful. I like it a lot here. If you're looking for short-term movements in Tesla, it's hard to figure out when that short-term movement's going to actually come, but if you're looking at the bigger picture, I think it's really nice.
You guys know I have talked a lot of shit, and we're all putting money in the swear jar at this point. You guys know I've talked an awful lot of stuff about Tesla, and I said last week that I like it, and last week was a down week, and I'm thinking maybe today's low was the bottom. I hate calling bottoms, but maybe it was. We'll see in coming sessions. But I was really, really itchy trigger finger on it today. I didn't pull it, but I like the look a lot.
Yep. Can we talk about how Apple is bullish?
I want to hear Nicholas's take on.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Sorry.
No, yeah, I love Tesla here. I think it looks great versus the gap. I still have my stop under the 200 day, and so I'm willing to give it plenty of room. I just, on a broader basis, I think that we're.
Are you already long?
Yeah. Yep. I think that we'll. Just kind of my opinion is I think that we're going to remain kind of range bound for the next couple of weeks, kind of heading into the end of August before September hits and we're off to the kind of resuming our uptrend. But I am a huge Tesla fan and I think it looks phenomenal. I don't know if I would. I hate to try and be predictive, but I wouldn't be surprised if today was kind of the wick low, kind of chopping people out underneath the 50-day. It's the first 50-day test that we've had since breaking out back in, what was that? Was it May? Yeah, we broke above it in May. I don't know. It's obviously a TML, so you got to keep your eyes on it, whether you have a position in it or not.
Yeah.
But by the way, I've changed from the EMA to the SMA because Cookie Brow beat me so much that I'm officially a convert as of today. There you go.
I think so. EMAs are usually pretty good for like long-term kind of approaches.
EMAs or SMAs?
EMAs.
EMA.
SMAs are for like the shorter term, right? So, because it smooths out the curve essentially.
Yeah.
On the EMAs.
But not a head and shoulders on the monthly. No, I would not consider that a head and shoulders.
Why? Because you have 2 points.
All you have is all you had was a breakout failure above 280. It came back into the 280 to 240 range. Anytime a stock the breakout fails and comes back into the range, your very first assumption should be it's going back to the low end of that range. And then from there you can reevaluate. And that's all that Tesla did. So again, price tried to break above 280. It failed, popped back down, sliced the 10, the 20 day. Right then and there, you should have been like, all right, we're going to head back at least to maybe not bottom tick the gap, but you would imagine you'd at least see where. Let me take a look at the volume bar. Yeah, absolutely. So you can see the volume bar on 6.9 is one of the biggest volume bars within the pattern, with the exception of 621. And price was already inside of the 621 bar. So the area of magnetism is basically that 252.60 to 242.19. We tagged that today.
What was the news that caused the gap up on 6.9? Anyone remember?
No, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't remember.
More names. You want to jump into something else? GP, do you have ones you want to go to, or is it?
I believe someone wanted to make a snarky comment about how Apple is bullish for the markets.
Oh yeah, let's talk. Yeah, Apple talk. Apple. We got a Baba request in there too.
Yeah. So wasn't everyone concerned that the market would die when Apple dies?
It didn't.
Oh, must be bearish.
I look at the monthly on Apple. We're basically retesting, what is it, the 2021 highs?
Yeah, the previous all-time highs. Yeah.
The break we're testing, or we're pulling back to, basically that breakout.
But it's a monthly head and shoulders, guys.
Where?
It's the same chart as Tesla.
Jacob's being snarky. He's being sarcastic.
Oh, sorry.
He's being sarcastic. He's not being serious. Yeah, I mean, I think your point's well taken, Nick. I mean, look at it. It's just retesting the breakout to all-time highs. That's all it's done. That's all it's doing currently.
Yeah. So prior resistance now has become support. If that support breaks, we can talk about Apple being bearish. look at the sell volume, right? Like on the weekly.
We want to make a friendly wager that Apple, if it breaks the 20-week here this week and closes below it, that it won't spend more than a week below it.
I think it ticks 169 and it bottoms out right there. 170, 169.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Dick. What I'm saying is if it breaks the weekly 20, it won't spend more than a week below it. No? Yes.
I'm trying to.
So
Where is the
I'd be
20
surprised
seconds? Oh,
if
I'm looking at the wrong screen.
It's at 179.18.
yeah, and that it's literally the pivot, right? It's a pivot
Yep.
resistance,
Yep.
pivot support, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, it's the first test of the 21-week moving average since February. Usually, the first test is not the break, right? It's the multiple test at that level. So breaks, it might close under, and then it'll reverse next week. But it's Apple. There's an event coming up. They're one of the most widely owned stocks, and if there was concern about their ER, that volume bar last week on the earnings would have been monstrous, sitting at where it was sitting at, which is all-time highs essentially. That it would have been a ridiculous bar of volume if people were concerned. So you didn't get that. So yeah, it's consolidating. It's been pretty much nosebleed for all of 2023, and now it's consolidating.
I
But
wish
the
someone-
biggest point is the market went only down 3%, right? What did they do? They rotated out of Apple to where?
yeah,
Google
Apple,
first, Amazon
Apple-
second.
well. I mean, I wish someone had told me last week that maybe Amazon would pull a Google and Apple would pull a Microsoft, but I wouldn't know who would have said something like that. But yes, no, Apple was down more than 7% last week, and the market was not. So the breadth conversation is, if it's not dead, it should be, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right? Like that's and dude, on top of that, NVIDIA put in a red week last week. Tesla put in a red week last week. I mean, Microsoft put in a red week last week. Apple obviously had a red week last week. You had some of the ones that you're talking about, the 7 names that carried us, all put in red weeks, and yet we're barely down. So yes, Apple, it might be bearish on its own, but the overall conversation here is that money is rotating into names that will keep the market up.
Right. Well, one thing that we've brought up in the past, right, is change of character. You need to be wary when there's a change of character. And just looking at NVIDIA as an example here, look at how many times it's pulled into the 9 weekly, right? Like just look how many times it's pulled into the 9 weekly since being above it, right? You can count, I don't know, 8-10 times at least that it's done this until NVIDIA closes below the 9 weekly. And it'll happen eventually. It'll happen at some time. It's not a change of character. So you kind of got to give bulls a little bit of credit, right? That the trend's not broken yet. Maybe I'm talking to myself. Maybe, I don't know.
No, but that's so. How many inside weeks is that on NVIDIA?
Oh, we got like a 47-week tight going on there.
And so, yeah, one crappy week, but well, that volume is actually one of the lowest volumes, right? In the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
And look at this week's volume. You're already we still got 4 days. It's already at like a quarter of last week's. So I think it's important to pay attention to like NVIDIA has been overvalued conversation for ever since the last earnings, yet nothing's really breaking down. And when it breaks down, you'll see it in the charts, the volume. We talk anyway. This is just rinse and repeat the same conversation. So
the more times you repeat something, the more likely that it is retained.
Right. And look at Meta. We can go to Meta. Meta finally filled that gap at 323 after a year and change, or almost a year and a half, right? And the rejection was like a 50% retrace of the earnings move. It's had a monster move. It could honestly go sideways to down for the next 3 months, and it still wouldn't be bearish by any means.
A lot of these monsters and all-time and highs that have been ripping this year could honestly use 2-3 months and still look phenomenal. Yeah.
What a
Right.
run.
And like take a look at Rivian. Rivian has pretty much the 2 weeks of monster volume has now pretty much gone sideways for 4 or 5 weeks. Right. Volume is starting to come down and is starting to get tighter. It will start coiling, and then it'll most likely rip higher again.
Boing. Earnings tomorrow?
Is it?
On Rivian?
Yeah, on Rivian tomorrow.
Is it really?
It is really. Wow.
What other requests do we have?
Baba. Somebody asked for the Baba.
I like the China
I'm there
names.
repeating myself yet for the 470th time. I don't care for China names long term, but I think Baba looks pretty good to go higher.
When is the question, right? With Baba,
Yes, when is the question? Nice tight range on the monthly, nice tight range on the weekly. I think it looks good to go higher, but when, I don't know. And
it looks like it's
would
building and
probably
waiting for
target around this like 116, 120 range is, right through here is where I would probably target if I were getting going for a somewhat long position. I'm losing all my fun tools here.
While you're doing the tools, Baba will be like one of those days it will have that move and everyone thinks it'll be time to fade, and then it won't fade, right?
Yeah, I would be looking for my target there, somewhere in that little area. But yeah, I think it looks good to me. Nick, you're
Yeah, I
expert.
like the China names. They just haven't broken out yet. They're still building cause. Like if you pull up the K-Web, just like Baba and Baidu, I mean, you could just kind of set alerts at the high end of the range. So like K-Web, you really, until price kind of climbs above like 36.
Yep.
It's range bound, and like the K-Web looks the same as Baba and Baidu. I have alerts set on Baidu and Baba. I don't have any desire to touch them until those alerts get triggered. But LI was one that I was watching. I don't have a position. I never took a position in it, but
whoa,
I was another like
all-time highs, right?
China auto name. Yeah, I liked the monthly. It's kind of a wide range, wide IPO kind of range, but from 15 to I don't know, basically 40, let's just say. Kind of kicking myself for not taking at least something. But
you see the accumulation on that chart, right? So
yeah.
Speaking of accumulation, shall we talk about PayPal?
Yeah.
Or the lack of accumulation?
I found myself, I'm like, dude, I don't think GP has a low enough target, actually. Like, I was almost thinking if it takes out that low, like it's heading into the 30s. But no, like my whole point was like, everyone's upset at me saying, why not PayPal? And everyone's like, oh, PayPal's been crushed. And I was like, yeah, been crushed, but no buyers have showed up, right? Like, yeah,
it's apparent in the chart that there's still no buyers. Yes, the volume was lower this week, so it's possible that we could now have finally found a bottom, and we start basing here, and we'll see more accumulation weeks heading up. But this chart, you got time, my personal opinion, plenty of time to see buyers show up to show that they're ready to let this go higher. But right now, still don't seem that way. And if it breaks that lows,
Yeah.
you could see buyers accelerating sellers accelerating to the downside. Tell me that's a bullish chart.
Yeah, no.
It bearish engulf on the monthly, and it's August 7th.
Yeah.
Square. Let's throw up Square. We talked about the lack of accumulation here.
Block.
I liked Square a lot. Pushing
know,
through the
right?
200-day. I luckily, better be lucky than good. I pulled out a decent trade out of Square. I'm lucky I didn't get trapped in that EPS move down, but I liked Square a lot, pushing to the 200-day higher, and it just couldn't hold. Obviously, kind of exactly probably what you're saying. There's not many buyers.
I think that's I think that's my point here, right?
Yeah.
Like when I talk about charts, it's not a daily 5-minute chart, it's a top-down approach. It will always be a top-down approach, which is how does it look on the monthly? How does it look on the quarterly? How does it look on the weekly? We'll go through each time frame, and there'll be a lot of times where I'll be like, no, it lines up on the daily, but the weekly looks overbought or extended, or the monthly looks bearish. That it's just best to stay away, right? We've talked about this for a long time. You need all time frame alignment, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a conversation. The chart that Bags has pulled up here, BWXT, that's time frame alignment. Start with the monthly, work yourself down to the weekly. The weekly gets right into the 9 SMA or 10 SMA, and boom, breaks through all-time highs, right? And now this week is already operating in the upper part of last week's wick. So you can go out to the weekly, monthly, daily. It's all setting up for you that this move is kind of real. And look at the breakout candle, not the breakout candle, but the candle before the breakout. Look at the volume that showed up, right? Look at the volume that showed up quite often.
This is BWXT that Randy wanted us to bring up, since he said since he told me it had to get past 72 plus. It did. It got past 72 plus. I mean, one thing about buying the breakouts is it's clear when it's breaking out, right? And you can be faked out on some of these things, but that is a clear as day breakout on whatever time frame you want to look at.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
That's a good looking.
I mean, I can draw
Good
a
looking.
flag here, right, on the daily, came in and did this number, right? And then
Into the
gone.
50, right?
Yeah, gone.
50 on the daily, 9 on the weekly, and a breakout on the monthly, right? This is time frame alignment. This is what you need in charts. You want to be not tucked into a position because you didn't buy at the right time or the right price. Then work yourself into a routine that lets you start from the monthly and work yourself down. Disney, for me, I had some leaps. I closed them out today. I'm not taking Disney leaps into a binary event of earnings.
Exactly.
It looks like garbage.
Earnings is a reason to sell.
But it looks like garbage. Once again,
That said, I want to YOLO some calls.
Where are the buyers, though?
There's
Every
none.
single bar has been red here.
Yeah.
There are no buyers.
They have a dividend, right?
They did cut it, or did they just get rid of it?
Yeah. So they lost an investor base that they've had for generations, essentially, with no dividend.
That can work when you're a true growth company. I wouldn't call that Disney's MO. At least not yet. Not right now. Guys, we got 6 minutes left. I'm just going to do some quick charts that were requested. Silver. I don't know. I mean, silver kind of looks like a retest of the break, but doesn't look the best to me. I don't know. What do your guys take on silver?
I'll pass.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll pass too. Declining volume. That just doesn't look great. Triple M, 3M. It skyrocketed on earnings and now it's damping.
Not what you want to see from something that's ready to move, right? So
No, that's the opposite of what you want to see.
this will need time.
Digital Ocean. Ooh.
Yeah, not touching that after that volume
Look at
bar.
that volume bar on the. Ooh. Was
That's
earnings?
going lower.
Was that an earnings?
As much as it looked good, that might be going back to the 20s.
Was that earnings?
Yep.
Indeed, it was. Unity. Nick, are you buying more Unity here?
I didn't, but I own it.
I know, that's why I was asking. Are you buying more here, or what's
I'm
your next
sitting
buy?
tight. On Unity?
Is there a next buy on Unity?
Yeah, through 50. 50-50.
Above 50? Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not looking great. Needs to reverse up out of this.
Unity, if it gets to 33-ish, 34-ish, it's the weekly 50 SMA. It's most likely going to retest that after breaking and holding above.
So you're saying 30?
Yeah, like 33.64 is the 50 SMA. So that's the level I'd be kind of looking to see if it holds, because it's built a really solid base. It's most likely going to hold the 36 level is what I would imagine. But if you get a lucky chance to pull into 33s because the CFO has resigned and it's the end of the world, then I think your risk to reward gets a lot better.
I'm gonna pat myself on the back a little bit. Paramount, I called this one on Friday. Nice little pump.
Yeah, it looks terrible, but nice.
Yeah, but it was a nice little pump.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at that. I'm like, oh wait, no, that doesn't look good.
Nice little move on the earnings.
Yeah.
5 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Things we like, things we don't like. GP, floor is yours.
Lulu.
You like Lulu?
It's just a matter of time. It's riding that weekly 9. It's buttoned up against that 387.
How many setups have we shown that have done this? How many? A lot. I don't know, but it's been a lot. So Lulu to the upside.
Lulu looks fantastic. It's just not moving yet. So maybe it's an earnings catalyst. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. Goldman Sachs.
Dude, you took mine. All right.
You like or don't like?
Yes, I love Goldman. It looks, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead, Nick. You can take over.
You got it, Nick. It's yours.
Well, BA and Goldman were my two. I love the kind of the high tide flag it's putting in on the daily. And just kind of the measure and the move out. I think it's heading back to 400. Your trigger on the trade, if you're not currently in it, is basically 361.42. You get a move through that on volume, and it's off to the races. But I think.
How do you know this is bullish? You throw up XLF on top of that, right? Like XLF is basically about to eat through the financial crisis of 2023.
And still looking that freaking good.
Yeah. KRE, similar.
Banks have looked good.
If banks are breaking out here,
early stage bull market, what goes with technology? Oh, that's right, banks.
Yep.
Hey, Pratt, good to see you, brother. GP, did you have another one? I can't let you and Nick both have Goldman.
Okay. We talked about this one already. Wayfair.
The dub.
Yeah. Beauty. Even on the daily, and again, you're not in a position currently. That EPS candle is the one to pay attention to. So you have an entry either through the 90-70 or versus the low at basically 79, and just use that candle as your range. I guess I'm kind of talking to myself here, but
No,
that's
you're
the
right.
range to use there for a trade basis.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't even use the wick low on the candle. I would use the
body.
open, probably
Yeah,
the 82.43 kind of area. It's been testing that over the last 48 hours of trading days, and so that's the level I'd be kind of using, that 82.43. It's basically the open 82.43.
Boeing was my
Your second, yeah.
Was my second. And again, like if you're not currently in the trade, your next trigger is through that 243. Based at 243, like that wick high.
Yeah, the wick high.
Yeah.
Kind of same thing with Goldman. I think it's got a 300 magnet on it, or at least a
So the other one, want to give a shout out real quick. I think we were poo-pooing on this one a couple months back. I think it was Randy's maybe. PAVE, PAVE. I think it was like 27 when he talked about it.
PAV.
Oh man, that was beauty.
It's US infrastructure.
Oh,
why? Man,
Randy be sending a sneaky shit on the low.
Yep.
Because Randy has all these different tickers in his head, and he's seeding it, but we ain't got it all the time. Randy, you owe us.
It's just not an easy trader.
You owe us money, Randy.
Yep.
My turn.
So
The sexiest chart is Marvell.
oh, that's another pretty one. Yeah.
Look at that flag. Oh my Lord.
God.
Look at how nice that's behaving. This is going to run. It's got earnings in 17 days. I don't care. I think it looks gorgeous.
The SM8, I mean, the semis, they all continue to look like, even look at AVGO, Broadcom.
Well,
Like,
how did I know you'd bring up AVGO when I'm talking about semiconductors?
well, I like
clack, Nick.
I know.
Yeah,
But-
AVGOs run like crazy. And I'll double down on my semiconductor bet. AMD. Not as beautiful as a flag as Marvell, but she's turning.
yeah, AMD is so beautiful that it's so ugly that it's kind of beautiful.
No, it's not ugly at all. Look at it. Look at it. It's reclaimed all the EMAs on the daily. I mean, on Friday, it had an up day on Friday when everything else was getting sold the hell off.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, we're at the level pre-earnings that it got sold off into. So I like, obviously, I'm talking my book here. I own both of them from long ago, but I think they are going higher. I love them both. Lisa Sue, Sube, and Marvell. I haven't added to Marvell, and I don't know. I mean, back in the 20s probably is the last time I added to it. I kind of want to add to it here. Anyway.
Yep. What was I gonna say? It's not important. I can't believe we did not talk about our friends.
Which friends?
Our friends in the energy sector.
I was waiting. I just didn't want to be the one to bring it up.
I'm tired of talking about it, honestly. But I mean, since you brought it up, I mean, nothing.
No, I was saying kudos for not bringing it up as we were ending the show.
Nothing's changed for me. Give me an 87 plus 87 close on the weekly, and we'll talk about it. Give me a below 87 close, and it's still not proving anything. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Yep.
There's the blue line, monkey. I know you're going to watch this later. Monkey gets the shout out in the last 2 minutes of the show. All right, guys, that's it. We've gone over, but it's cool. Always love spending time with you. GP, you are in our hearts for the rest forever, but for the rest of the week, as you deal with your family and be around them and love them and hug them. And we are so sorry about the passing of your mom. And thank you for being here with us. This was for Mama GP. That's why we were trying not to curse. But
yeah, but she knows me. She'll forgive me.
We love you, and take it easy the rest of the week, my brother. If there's anything that we can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out. You know that.
I appreciate it, Bags.
Nick, thanks for clacking along as usual. Thanks for everybody for being here. Hey guys, I know I tell everybody this at the end of the show, but the best thing you can do for us is to share our content. And I'm making TikToks, I'm tweeting. We've got this freaking podcast that we do every week. The best thing you can do is tell a friend to tell a friend and help us get our subscribers up. We want to keep doing this content. We want to do it more.
It's every Monday. If people wanted to chirp ahead of time and give us a couple names to go over, by all means, hit me up on StockTwits and Twitter too. I have no
1,000%. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe you can get maybe you can convince me and GP and Nick to do a live day session one day. But yes, Rachel, we're doing TikToks. Go check my Twitter. They're there. The TikToks are there. We've even got GP's voice auto-tuned as the trickster, and it's great. I love it. I'm trying to figure out what voice Nick is going to be. I think I want to have a voice for each of us. So that's where I want to go with the TikToks. But follow me on TikTok. Like the content on TikTok. It's only helping us grow, and we just want to do this. We're not, these are free platforms. We're trying to give you free game, and it comes with a lot of experience and a lot of time the three of us have invested. So we appreciate all the support, and we love you guys for it. But share, help spread our content. We appreciate it. But that's it for tonight. Thank you all. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. We will be back next week. I'm presuming at the same time. It'll be either 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern time. But
no, I'm back to 8. I've been getting out of the hospital at 8, so that's why we've been pushing at 9. Won't be doing that anymore. So I'm back to 8 as long as that works for everyone else.
We'll be back at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays. That'll be our regular scheduled time, and we always look forward